Our episode begins today at the academy, where the teacher informs the students about a dangerous disease that has become a significant issue in recent years. The name of the disease is Dutine. The teacher then asks if anyone can explain what this disease is. At that moment, Jill raises his hand, surprising everyone. They stare at him with odd looks, thinking to themselves, the servant should know his place. They whisper among themselves, speculating that perhaps Jill is trying to show off his intelligence. The teacher notices and interrupts them, saying, "Do not talk amongst yourselves." He then asks Jill to answer. Jill stands up and begins explaining. The disease causes spots to appear on the infected person's body, which then gradually disappear. It's said to not be a skin condition, but rather an internal disease, because it has primarily been observed in people living around the Daigan River basin. It's believed that the river's water is the cause, since those who live near it rely on the river for their daily needs, making them constantly vulnerable to the disease. The scene then shifts to Elisa and Jill as they converse. Elisa encourages Jill, noting how diligent he has become. Jill responds by saying that he indeed studies day and night. At that moment, Prince Duke enters and jokingly addresses Elisa. Annoyed, she tells him, "What do you want, Prince Duke? We are very busy right now. You need to leave immediately." The prince responds, "I will stay with you, and I want you to explain to me as well about these diseases." Elisa begins explaining with the help of a map, saying it's a result of the rapid development in Laval. Since Dursis is located at the river's estuary, there is nothing we can do about it. Even if we wanted to implement countermeasures, our strained relations with Laval would make it difficult. Prince Duke then tells them, "We are searching for ways to reduce the spread of Dutine by any means possible." Jill interjects, saying he has heard of a miraculous medicine for the disease in Laval, a rare herb called Madi, which grows on cliffs in northern Laval. Unfortunately, the region with the highest infection rate in Dursis is the village of Luana, as it lies along the turbulent waves of the Daigan River. Most of the infected there die rapidly due to the lack of treatment and the absence of clinics or hospitals. Jill reveals that he has been researching Risotber, hoping to find a way to hope. He vows, "I must do something." The scene then transitions to Prince Duke, speaking with his secret confidant. He tells her that he loves Elisa deeply and doesn't want to confine her. He wants her to be free and soar like a falcon, as he has always known her to be. Another scene follows with Jill and Elisa. Elisa tells him she left a book she wanted to retrieve at one of the library's desks and needs to go get it. Jill offers to fetch it for her, saying, "As your servant, I will do it." Elisa, appreciative, says, "If you don't mind, I would greatly value it." As Jill returns with the book, Liz calls out to him and asks for a moment of his time. She requests that he join her in a study session and explain the disease to her, saying, "Albert told me everything. I hope you can teach me more about Luana. Please, I want to learn as Elisa did. I want to study and strive so we can all understand each other better." Jill hesitates, appearing as though he wants to refuse. He doubts that villagers and outsiders can truly understand one another. Liz insists, saying, "It might be difficult at first, but I'm certain we can do it." She then uses a form of magical energy akin to hypnosis, influencing Jill's mind and gaze. She speaks to him, revealing how she's endured much bullying and now desires to befriend everyone. She pleads with him to be her friend, just like he is with Elisa, and help her write an essay better than any she's written before. Under her spell, Jill, mesmerized, agrees, saying, "Fine, I'll do anything for you." At that moment, Prince Duke arrives, furious. He confronts Liz, asking, "What have you done?" Liz stammers, "What are you talking about?" "We were just talking." The prince grabs Jill, and as Jill's gaze changes again, the two leave immediately. Liz calls out, "Wait, we need to finish our conversation." But the prince looks at her with the eyes of someone who sees through everything and says, "That doesn't matter now." Jill told Elisa that he had taken a long time because she was worried something might have happened to him. Duke explained that Jill had been acting strangely, so he brought him back here. Elisa then asked Jill if he wanted to return home, but he replied that he was fine and didn't feel sick or anything. Duke then warned her, but Elisa didn't understand why he said that. Next, we see Duke talking to Mill, asking if she had made any progress in the investigation he had requested. She replied with a question, asking if he was referring to the Saintess, describing her as just a doll everyone admired. She admitted she hadn't made any progress, especially with the ancient text he had asked about, as she hadn't touched it yet. Later, we see all the students gathered in the dining hall for their meals. Among them is Jane, who appears extremely angry, holding a pair of scissors and seemingly planning to do something to Carol. The scene then shifts back to Alyssa, who is sitting with Jill to study together. While sitting, Alyssa reflects on several unresolved matters, including Dalton's illness and the wolf sent to Liz. These things confuse her, and she realizes she needs to visit Layville to learn more about the world outside the Atome game script. However, the only way to go to Lavlaval is to be exiled from the kingdom, leaving her uncertain about what to do. Suddenly, a loud scream is heard. Alyssa runs to see what's happening and finds that Jane has cut off all of Carol's hair in a random manner. Jane blames Alyssa, saying it's all her fault. Alyssa asks why Jane did this, and Jane replies that it's Alyssa's fault because Carol now looks pathetic. Jane explains that Carol, who spent so much time trying to be like Liz, used to look up to her with admiration, and that disgusted her. Jane accuses Alyssa of humiliating her in the past, and Carol had tried to do the same to Jane before. Alyssa responds by saying that it's all just hatred. Alyssa knows Jane resorted to violence because she couldn't win with words alone. Jane retorts, saying that Carol grew her hair to look like Alyssa. She turns to Carol and declares that she'll never be Alyssa. Alyssa calmly replies that she knows all of this, and that she's aware Carol always looked up to her, which is why she doesn't care about such petty disputes. Alyssa then thinks to herself that the essence of being a villainess is to be hated. Jane shouts to everyone that Alyssa never cared about Carol, but Carol interrupts, saying that it wasn't Alyssa's fault, she was the one who cut her own hair with the scissors. Jane is shocked and terrified, saying, "Don't look at me like that with eyes that resemble Alyssa's." Alyssa uses her magic to take the scissors from Jane and then cuts her own hair. Everyone is stunned as Alyssa says, "Now we have the same hairstyle." Jill, impressed, tells her, "You never stop amazing me every day." The scene transitions to Duke talking to Alyssa, commenting, "Your new look is charmingly irritating. So I wanted to be the first to see this." Mill hugs Alyssa, saying, "This hairstyle suits you so much. I can replenish my energy reserves now." She continues, "Duke keeps giving me more tasks, and Carol is so grateful that you're my cousin. She was overjoyed when I styled her hair." Duke then calls out to Mill with an angry expression, which terrifies her as she remarks, "Those are some truly scary eyes." The next day, many girls adopt short hairstyles. Henry, observing the scene, comments to his friend, "There used to be crowds around Liz, and now they're all looking at Alyssa." A dispute among the girls ensues. One of them declares, "If you're siding with Alyssa, leave." Another replies, "This rose garden is open to everyone." Thane remarks, "It seems some loyal followers still remain." Henry steps in, saying to the girls, "This quarrel is ruining your beautiful faces," and escorts them away. The scene shifts to Jill and Alyssa. Jill, astonished, remarks, "Even those loyal to Liz seem to have changed their opinions." "But even if cutting your hair attracted attention," Alyssa interrupts, "I've started to emit an aura of a villainess. Is it possible for others' opinions to change this much? There's something very strange about it." As Alyssa walks, she overhears some girls berating Jane. "You're playing the victim. This is your fault. You've even made me seem like a liar. Some people are starting to doubt Liz because of you. You don't even deserve to breathe the same air as Liz." Jane cries as they mock and ridicule her. Alyssa intervenes, taking the mud they were throwing at Jane and stopping them. She warns, "Why don't you leave quickly? Go wash off that mud or else I'll throw it at you next." Frightened, the girls run away. Jane, still upset, says, This is all your fault in the first place. Why are you helping me?" Alyssa calmly cleans Jane's clothes with magic and tells her, "There's no need to hold back. If you want to cry, then cry. You see, crying is admitting defeat, but frustration is what helps people grow. Stay here until you're ready to leave. No one else will come in until then." Alyssa then activates a barrier on the door to ensure no one hears Jane crying. Left alone, Jane finally breaks down and cries. Jill approaches Alyssa afterward, saying, "You're so kind." Alyssa replies, "Comments like that should be reserved for Liz. I just didn't want to see something ugly." Finally, we see Mill in another location with a book in her hands. She exclaims with joy, "I found what I was looking for." And that's how today's episode of this anime ends. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all the latest content.